Hollywood is being rebuilt by artists not afraid to disrupt the status quo, telling fresh stories and bringing to life characters who until now have been confined to the margins. This is Emerging Hollywood. So you understand the whole conversation about reparations now, because it's really just the acknowledgement that America did something wrong.
Right, yeah. And I think that's the interesting thing is just framing, you know? You look at Germany. Germany goes back to Namibia and they're like, hey, we're gonna pay. We're gonna pay for what we did. And we're not paying to pay you off. You know, I've seen a talking point that people have gone with that. They've been like, black people, are you just gonna get paid off? No, it's not about paid off. It's about somebody out there acknowledging, hey, I put you down and kept you down so that I could build everything I have today. And as we all understand, with compound interest and with accumulations of wealth, holding somebody else down and growing what you've taken from them can lead you to be in a position where they can never, ever catch up to you. There's never truly equality. So the conversations around reparations really have to be in and around that. It's just studying and looking at, hey, is there something we can do in this country that can truly put black people in a position where they are equal? Not just equal on the surface, but they are equal. And we've realized that on many levels in America, black Americans have been held back on so many different levels. You know, whether it's getting higher interest rates for not just loans from banks, but also student loans. You leave school with a higher level of debt for studying the same thing as a student who is white. How is that equality? And I think those are some of the conversations that Americans need to have, but it's been spun, again, because people have made it seem like, hey, Dan, you're gonna have to give them $50. Hey, Petey, you're gonna pay $100. And that's not what it's gonna be. Yeah. But I think people have managed to successfully distill it into this simple talking point, you know, that makes it feel like it's an us versus them conversation, when in fact it's not.
No, it's simple. America systemically did something to put black people in a bad position. Now systemically do something to put them in a good position.
It's as simple as that. I always ask people, why wouldn't you want that as well? I always go like, why wouldn't you want that? Why wouldn't you want to see black communities raised up? Why wouldn't you want to? I don't understand why you wouldn't want to see that. And America has a history of doing that. That's another thing for me. America has a history of helping people. You know, America has a history of going, hey, farmers, we're going to give you subsidies. We're going to help the corn industry. Hey, you know what? All you guys who fought in the war, you come back, we're going to help you. They didn't help the black soldiers as much, but what they did was they said, if you are a white person who has fought for this country, we're going to help you. We're going to help you buy a house. We're going to help you go to school. And for a long time, that wasn't frowned upon in America. It wasn't seen as a handout. It was seen as a boost. It was a normal thing. But now it feels like once that boost is going towards a certain group of people, now there's resistance to that idea. This is not a country of handouts. This is where you work hard. It's like, yes, we all work hard. But it helps when somebody doesn't block the path that you're trying to work hard towards.
So what's their answer when you ask them that, though? When you say, hey, why wouldn't you want that? Do they pull out their Klan hoodie and say, this is why I don't want it? Like,
no, I genuinely think it's framing. I've learned most of American politics is hampered by political branding. It's brilliant, and it's how most of the conversations are distilled in this country. A classic example, and a simple one, is Obamacare versus the Affordable Care Act. They asked Americans, do you support Obamacare?
No.
The numbers were dismal. They said, do you support the Affordable Care Act? The numbers would double. Same thing, different name. Why? Because the one sounds like black medicine. That's why.
Now, what's the role of comedy in politics?
Well, that's an interesting question. What is the role of comedy in politics?
Especially right now.
I've lived in a country where for many years comedy wasn't legal if it was speaking about what was going on in the country. There's still African countries where you can't just tell whatever joke you want to. So I think for me, the most important aspect of comedy personally is knowing that you still have, you know, the freedom of speech to say what you want to say about what's going on in the world. In terms of its importance, I think it changes from person to person. For me, it's about giving people a reprieve, you know, because people get so stressed out about what's happening in the news. People get stressed out about what's happening in politics. And I think comedy reminds you of who you're trying to be, who you maybe once were, and that the world is not always ending, even though it seems like it may be.
Well, isn't it the most effective way to inform people about politics? Like people who may not be informed about politics any other time, they get it from the late night shows, seem like.
Well, I don't think it's the most effective way. I think it has become one of the more effective ways in America because of how bad your news is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's so much fear mongering.
Yeah,
they want something lighter.
But what is news in America? It's opinion panels. It's you know, boxes of people shouting at each other. It's people sitting on a couch spewing opinions opinions. Whereas when you look at news, especially around the world, like in South Africa, what I grew up with, people in Britain, etc., the news is a very boring institution, but very informative. You know, so I grew up watching what was happening all over the world every night as a kid. I didn't enjoy it, but I knew. And so for me, I think maybe a byproduct of American news skewing towards entertainment has meant that entertainment has started to skew towards news. And so that's why people feel like it's one of the best places to be informed. I don't think it's the best way to be informed. I just think right now it's how people are being best informed.
But you do try to be informative, though.
Oh, yeah. I think great comedy is about informing yourself. You know, all of the greats have given me that advice in different ways at different times. You know, everybody from Dick Gregory to, you know, Dave Chappelle, you know, they all go like, look at what's happening in the world. Just tell the truth. And then the jokes are going to come from that. So as a person, I try and make The Daily Show what I'm talking about to my friends, to my writers, to my people. It's not like I leave the building and all of a sudden, you know, I'm thinking of other things. It's everything that's going on in my world, and I try and condense it into that 30-minute show.
So what is the most effective way to be informed nowadays? Because there's so much different news coming at you every second of the day.
I'll be honest with you, I question everything now.
Yeah.
You know, I question everything and I read everything everywhere. So I will read 5 different newspapers. I'll try and get 5 different versions of the story. I try and dig into a thing over and over and over again, because I've come to realize that as much as we like to believe that there's such a thing as objectivity, everyone has some sort of bias.
Yeah, I guess that's the problem with having so many opinion-based sources, right?
Right, yeah, that's the thing.
Because everybody's got some bias.
But there is no, I mean, like, when it comes to politics, you realize there's no definitive truth, per se, right? There's no, I mean, there are certain facts, you know, there are scientific facts, but when it comes to everything else, I mean, everyone can argue chicken or the egg in any argument. So you have to figure out what you base your opinions on, and, you know, which economists you trust, which think tanks you trust, et cetera, et cetera. And that's why I have a big team that works here with fact checkers, with writers, with everyone who can come together and say, okay, we agree on this being the most concrete version of the truth that we're going to go out with.
Do you get the final say in that?
Yeah, you have to have the final say. You know, at some point, I got to put my neck on the line and be like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Because again, if I leave the building, it's me. You know, I can't say to you guys tomorrow, if you go, Trevor, why did you say that? Well, actually, Charlamagne, my writer wrote this. No, that's why every single joke that comes out, I either write it with the writers or I approve the joke. I go, that was funny, I'm gonna say that.
What do you say to people who say, like, The Daily Show can be an echo chamber?
Everything is an echo chamber. I think that's a term that people use to try and justify what a group of people are saying in and amongst themselves. I think for myself, you will always have an echo chamber because people who watch your show are people who like your show.
All right.
Do you get what I'm saying? So you'll always have that. What I think is key for me is to break out of that bubble that you live in and acknowledge what's happening outside of that world. So what I do is I go, let's acknowledge moments or things that may make us uncomfortable or engage in ideas that other people have that we may not necessarily discuss amongst ourselves. And I think that's key. You know, so I don't just live in a world where I'm like, you agree, we agree, yeah, we're good, we agree, we agree. No, it's like, all right, this is what we know what we think. That's why I want to have Republicans on the show. That's why I have people I would not agree with on any policy on the show, because I want to engage with them on an idea and I want to expose them to my audience and be like, yo, I want you to trust your ideas of the world. Because if what you believe can change when you meet somebody else, then it wasn't based on anything concrete. Your belief should be strong enough that they can stand up to the ideas of somebody else.
Yeah, have any of them ever changed your mind? When's the last time that's happened?
I don't know if anyone has changed my mind, but I do know people have given me a different perspective on how to see something, you know? So whether it's Chris Christie or, you know, whether it was Rand Paul or whether it was, there's always something I garner from another human being. You know, I think most human beings are trying to do what they think is right from their point of view. There are obviously people in the world who I think are just evil. There are some human beings who are just like, no, I'm trying to destroy things. But I think most human beings in the world are going, no, I'm right and I'm trying to do what's right.
Yeah.
So I try and garner even a glimpse of their world from them that helps me understand how to formulate a different argument or see them more as a human being and try to engage with them and get to the same place.
Is there any good way to see this current administration? Has any of them ever said something to you that says, oh, I can see why you support the president?
Is there any good way to see this administration? I don't know if there's a good way to see this administration, but one thing I'll say about Donald Trump that I've repeatedly said is one thing that people take for granted with Donald Trump is that he is brilliant at acknowledging problems.
Really?
he is fantastic at acknowledging problems. His solutions are trash. He's fantastic, though. He doesn't hide that there is a problem. You know, so he will say, for instance, like no one liked it when he went and said, hey, guys, in Belgium and in France, they've got something bubbling up there. He was like, look, man, I've noticed that there is conflict between the immigrant community in these places, and that's going to bubble. And people were like, Trump is you're just talking trash. And then all of a sudden you saw immigrants that were involved in attacks, and people were like, oh, we didn't know this. And people were like, yeah, this is a big thing in a community. How did we not know? And I think it's because a lot of the time we choose to ignore things. His solutions are trash, though, because he'll say the same thing in America. He'll go, we have a problem with immigration, build a wall. Yeah. Come on, man, that's not a solution. You know, what are you going to do about the Middle East? We're just going to bomb the shit out of it. These are not solutions. But I think what he's good at doing is identifying problems. And I think if you understand the problem that he's identifying, you can figure out another solution and then speak to those same people. And I think some politicians have latched onto that now. They've started realizing, oh, the reason Trump connects with people is because he speaks to something that they see as real, but maybe we could give them another solution.
For more episodes of Emerging Hollywood, subscribe to The Hollywood Reporter on YouTube.